I'm going to talk about the new minstrel show Empire premiering on Fox. It seems like now, well, Fox is the latest network to jump on the minstrel show bandwagon when it comes to African American programming. First, we had Scandal, then we had that minstrel show, um, Blackish, and now we have Fox getting in on the game, producing their own minstrel show, Empire. And as if you don't know, yet the person behind Empire is the one and only Lee Daniels, the master of minstrel shows and minstrel movies such as Precious and Monsters Ball. And Empire fits right into the mold of his other previous projects, such as Precious and Monsters Ball. Empire supposedly revolves around a record company, and every stereotype about black people is featured in this show. When you watch the when I watched the pilot Monday night, the repeat of it, everything that I said about Lee Daniels is pretty much confirmed in this show. He puts every racist stereotype known to man in this program. The only thing missing is a shoe shine guy popping his rag. But I probably think we'll see that by the end of the season. We'll probably see that too by the end of the season. But I watched this first episode and I was pretty much horrified. It was like watching an episode of Amos and Andy as a drama. I mean, pretty much this was 100% minstrel show. We had the loudmouth black mama, the mammy played by Taraji P Henson. We had the simp black male played by Terrence Howard. We had the homosexual, effeminate male son. Then we had the Uncle Tom son, who was married to the white woman. And then we had a conclave of other shines in this program. And Malik Yoba there just to be, I don't know why he's even in this. It's just an embarrassment to see him there, but it's a big minstrel show about the record business, and I guess they're trying to do something to say it's like Jay-Z. I mean, but it was the worst thing I have ever seen. And I've seen some bad stuff. I mean, I've sat through Dolomite all the way through. I mean, Dolomite at least was entertaining in that it was so bad it's good. But this Empire is a pure. I mean, it's just an exercise in self-hate and degradation of black people. I mean, it's the worst stereotypes I've ever seen. I mean, it's supposed to be about a record company, music business, and it shows us how dysfunctional all these people are. I mean, and I look at this like the image of black people is, it's almost at rock bottom. I mean, and the sad part about this whole thing is it's not white people producing these programs for black people. It's black people like Lee Daniels producing these programs for black people. And what's disturbing about it is it shows how much they hate being black by presenting these images of black life. I mean, as a guy who actually grew up in neighborhoods like what they talked about, I I don't see. I grew up in the South. I mean, I'm still living in the South Bronx. I grew up right next to the railroad tracks, the Metro North Railroad. That's where I lived back when I was a kid, and I never saw such, all of this, dysfunction. I saw poor but proud black people trying to do the best they can with what they had, and that's not seen in any of these shows, these minstrel shows that they're presenting now. And I look at and when I was growing up back then, I always thought about presenting the best, doing the best, and trying to be better. Trying to take yourself to the next level. But what I saw with this Empire show was like these people stayed ghetto, even if they had millions of dollars. They were still, you know, coons. They were still acting ignorant. And I'm looking at the image of black people, and this is not what we are, and it never was what we are. This is, you know, Lee Daniels is the master of pandering to the white liberal, and he wants to present the image that makes white liberals feel comfortable. And I'm looking at, Black Hollywood. It's like they've sold. it's not like they sold out. They actually have sold out. A lot of them have sold. Most of them have sold out, and they're presenting the image that make of black people that makes white liberals feel comfortable about black people, about their views of black people. They're not presenting the realistic image of what black people actually are. Um, and I looked at this show, and I look at the trend with these black programs, and it's just sickens me to see. We have black shows on many of the major networks, and they're all minstrel shows. I mean, we have Scandal on ABC, we have Blackish on ABC, and now we have Empire on Fox, and then we have all these other cable shows, Love and Hip Hop, Real Housewives, the syndicated talk show The Real, and I feel like I'm in a time warp. I feel like it's 1915, and I'm watching, the coon in the Charlie Chan movie, or I think it was Charlie Chan, because it was one of those movies I saw. It was Charlie Chan or Mr. Moto. It was Mr. Moto, the Mr. Moto movie, where I saw this coon in the movie, and he was pulling a razor blade or a knife every time he got scared. And this is what I feel like I'm watching right now. I feel like I'm in a time warp, and I'm watching, old time coons in Mr. Moto movies, which are chock full of racist stereotypes, or some other movie where I like old 1940s movie where I'm seeing the maids and the butlers and the other shuffling servants. I mean, yeah, the people are presented with good jobs and good educations, but they're not acting like it. They're not presenting themselves as functional human beings. They're not humanized. They're like repackaged stereotypes. There's no representation of intelligence, representation of, the best of black people. I mean, I grew up in an age with the Cosby Show, Different World, Sister Sister, Smart Guy, Martin, and I saw balanced images of black people on screen. And what I'm seeing right now is, I'm seeing some of the worst images of black people since, I'd say, just like I said back in the 40s with that Mr. Moto, Charlie Chan, Step and Fetch It. I mean, this is like repackaged Step and Fetch It. And the sad part is that many black people are silent about this. I mean, I think back to 1986 when Lisa Bonet was about to star in Angel Heart, and there were all these protests about that film and the way black women were presented, and how people stood out. And I look at the images of black people today, and there's just silence. I mean, ever since Denzel Washington and Halle Berry won the Oscar for Monsters Ball and Training Day and playing those stereotypical characters, it's been like utter silence from black people. No protest. I mean, you might get protests from guys like me or some other YouTubers who are more self-aware, but most black people are silent about it, and a lot of black people still continue to support it. And it's like it's been like over the last 15 years, as I've stated in other videos, it's been a flood of literally racist, degrading images of black people with no one making an effort to try to counter it or to actively speak out about it. And this is one of the reasons why I blog about it a lot, and I make every effort to talk about it, because I want people to understand the long-term devastating impact that these negative images have on black people. I mean, I look at the 20 years of thug culture and how it's become art life imitating art. Because when you look at the movie Menace to Society and how the Michael Brown situation turned out, that shows us the long-term impact of imbibing negative images over a period of time. People wound up raised on that, on movies like Menace to Society, Juice, Boys in the Hood, and now people are following that. And now we look at the trend with the Tyler Perry movies and the Lee Daniels movies, with Tyler Perry movies. I mean, we're seeing more dysfunction promoted as a social norm, because I understand the direct impact of media on people and the impact that a show like Empire has was going to have on black people, I look at it, it's going to promote more self-hate um, inside black people's minds because uh, in this show we don't see, what I grew up with black on black love, black on black relationships. I mean, I have yet to see anybody promote a film or a TV show where you see, a black man and a black woman together, like the Cosby Show, or Family Matters, or Fresh Prince, where you saw, a black man and a black woman together. What I see in today's media a lot of times, like with this Empire, this minstrel show, is a presentation of a black man hating a black woman. Um, Other black, because all the images of black men in this film, in this show, are some of the most dysfunctional I have ever seen in my life. I mean, you have the patriarch who is just a simp. I mean, he has this thug image, but he's basically a coward. I mean, at the end of the episode, he winds up killing a guy. I mean, murdering a guy, and then and then you have the black woman promoting her homosexual son and trying to make him into a star. I mean, again, not trying to promote the functional male, and then the other male who also hates himself shows him married to a white woman. He's supposed to be the business aspect. I mean, everything in this show, it's a slap in the face, and it follows the trend. Again, it follows the trend of black programming, and the saddest part is all of this programming is not made by white people, it's made by black people, and it says a lot about how we see ourselves if we're the ones producing this type of content. It says that black people, we don't like ourselves. I mean, I look at other parts of media, like the black book market, which has turned into a cesspool over the last 11, 12 years, with all the street lit and all of the erotica. And I mean, it's literally like a garbage can over there. I mean, it's like a porno store. I wonder, when I go to the African American section at Barnes and Noble these days, it's like I wonder where are the beads that separate, or the curtain that separates the pornographic section from the rest of the store, because that's how filthy a lot of these black books are. It's like a sewer, and then a lot of them are poorly written. A lot of it is emotional writing, and I'm going to go into that in another video in a couple weeks, talking about emotional writing, because a lot of these books are just based on emotion. They have no plot, they have no character development, and it's just one big sex scene or one big graphic scene of violence, lots of profanity, and that says a lot about how we see ourselves, black people. When I look in the mirror, I don't see that when I see black people. I see intelligent people, I see responsible people, I see creative people, but that's not being. And I see I see the best when I see black people. When I see black people, that's why I make every effort to make positive images of black people, because that's how I see myself, and that's how I try to see. That's how I see the world of black people. But the real world that I'm seeing now, that these other people are putting up, the Lee Daniels, the Tyler Perrys, the Oprah Winfreys, and the Shonda Rhimes, they're putting up a world that showcases the absolute worst of black people, and they exploit black people, presenting this victimized image in the hopes of making money off of white liberals, and they're pandering to white liberals, in the hopes of giving them what they want so they can get what they want. They're getting theirs at the expense of black people, and a lot of us don't understand how bad that's going to affect us, because it affects, when they put these images out here, it's going to affect every man, woman, and child for the next 20, 25 years. I mean, I think about the impact the Cosby Show had on myself growing up, and how, I looked at Bill Cosby's legacy, because that changed the way a lot of the world saw black people. It really revolutionized them. Cosby Show, I mean, I grew up with the Cosby Show, Robert Townsend films, Spike Lee films, Hudlin Brothers, and all of these pictures shaped how I saw myself and how I saw the world, because I wouldn't be publishing positive black fiction or fantasy fiction right now if it wasn't for watching those films, watching those TV shows and seeing that there was another way to depict African Americans in media. Um, it just meant a lot to me to see black people presented that way. And when I saw these type of movies, when I see these type of movies being made, I always make every effort to go out and support them. That's why I actively went out to go buy movies like Pride, The Great Debaters, and I Will Follow, because I really want to see people to start seeing black people as human beings. Because when you put up these stereotypes, this is why you get things like grand jury decisions, like the Eric Garner and Michael Brown case, because you don't see yourself as human, so the rest of the world doesn't see you as human. When you go out and spend $25 million on a movie like No Good Deed, which features a black brute, all you're doing is telling the world that you're a brute. And when we have people producing content like Empire, Scandal, all of the real talk show, all of these reality shows like Love and Hip Hop, Real Housewives, Basketball Wives, and then stuff like World Star Hip Hop. All it's saying is that, being a stereotype is the norm for black people, and that black people don't value themselves. And it goes back to the old argument of Black Lives Matter. If you value your life, you're going to do everything to make it count. You're going to present an image of yourself that says that you count and that you matter and that you're valuable. And that image of yourself is going to be, really, it's going to be incredibly positive. You're going to put up the best foot forward. And that's one of the things I try to do in the books that I publish is I try to put the best image of black people in all my work. And it disturbs me to see this type of media being promoted as a norm. I mean, here we have three shows. I mean, not three shows, four shows on two networks, and all are filled with stereotypes worthy of a 1930s, 1940s minstrel show. And the saddest part is we have no protest from your Al Sharptons, your Louis Farrakhan's, your NAACPs, your black fraternities and sororities, or even your black man on the street. Everyone is silent. And they have been silent for the last 15 years. I mean, outside of a few YouTubers and a few bloggers like myself, there's been no active protest against the non-stop onslaught of minstrels on the air. And the saddest part is most of these minstrels are coming from our own people and they're being distributed by our own people. And sometimes you gotta speak out against black on black. I mean, it may be wrong. A lot of people may feel offended that that I'm saying something about, black people, but we can't produce content like this, especially with our image, being the way it is in the world. I mean, people look for the worst to say about black people, and when we produce the worst images of ourselves, all we do is reinforce the very same stereotypes that many people all over the world view us as. I mean, and we have to change. If we want to change our image, we have to change ourselves. If we want to show that we matter, we have to present the best image of ourselves. We have to show that we're valuable. We have to show that our image is valuable. Um, and that's not being done right now. And I try to do it with all my books and screenplays. And I try to make the most humanized image of black people possible because I want people to understand and get an accurate picture of black life and how it's represented. I mean, not everybody from the ghetto is ghetto. I mean, again, I grew up, I still live in the South Bronx, and I lived right next to the railroad tracks, Metro North Railroad tracks when I was a kid. I saw the heroin addicts as a teenager when I moved. I grew up around all the crack, cocaine, and all the dope, and I never sold any dope. I never took any dope. Um, there were guys, I was in class with guys who sold crack, and I never wanted to get involved with that lifestyle because for me, um, the idea of selling crack to another black man was killing another black man. And I thought that way at 15 years old. when I was in high school with all these dope dealers. I said the whole idea of selling crack to another black man or a black woman is killing another black person, and I didn't want to do that to another black person. And to me, because again, to me, it's part of my core values. Black Lives Matter is a core part of my values. It's a way of life for me, and it shows through my actions. I mean, this is why I publish positive books about the black experience. This is why, because I lived around this as a kid, and as an adult, I still live around it, and I try to put the best foot forward, the best image forward, because I want people to see a black man as someone intelligent, capable, hardworking, conscientious, and capable of doing the best job possible. This is who I am, and this is the way I live. And I'm not seeing that on the screen of any of these TV shows, of any of these movies. I'm not seeing, a realistic portrayal, because this is the way I am. This is the way my brother is. This is the way my sister is. This is the way my cousins are. This is the way we were raised. This is who we are as black people. And what I'm seeing today is some of the most dysfunctional, um, stereotypical, ignorant black people to, I have ever seen in American media. I mean, this is some of the worst. I'd say some of the worst some of the worst stereotyping since the 1930s and the 1940s, when we had Stepin Fetchit, Amos and Andy, and other minstrels on the air. And black folks, I mean, black Hollywood, they think that they're doing something. I mean, it's clear to me that they have just sold out the black community, and it's time for black folks to really just call them on it, like I am right now, and hold them accountable for the images they're putting out here, because what they're doing is harming our children and it's harming our community, and it's time to hold them accountable for their actions. I mean, guys like Lee Daniels, it's clear that they hate black people. It's clear that they're sellouts. They need to be called on it. I mean, if I was more prominent, I would be calling out the Lee Daniels and the Chandra Rhimes and the Zanes, because these Negroes are not working in the best interests of black people, and they're getting their shine, their accolades, and their praise on the backs of black people. They're exploiting black people, and that 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 cannot continue to go on. And I look at this new minstrel show Empire, and it's like it's branching out. I mean, sooner or later, I think CBS and NBC will probably be jumping on the minstrel bandwagon. Yeah, black actors are working. I know all the excuses because I've heard them all. In the comment section of my blog, SeanSJames.blogspot.com, I've heard them all. Yeah, black people are working, but what type of experience is that? What type of experience? I mean, it's like the difference between working at McDonald's. Like when I said this in the comments in a blog about Tyler Perry. Um, what's the difference between? I mean, there's a job and there's experience. Job is something you do for a paycheck. Something that gives you experience, gives you skills that you can take to the next level. And I look at these shows, these minstrel shows, yeah, black people are working, but what are they working for, and how is it affecting you long term? Because a good product, I mean, a good job, a good work experience is going to give you skills later on. It's going to be able to something that you can use later on, or you can present to people later on. That's not what I'm seeing from today's black media. And I look at this show Empire, and it's just another minstrel show. And the saddest part is the Negro black people are just silent about everything. And been silent for the last 15 years, and I keep wondering, when are more people going to start saying something about all of these minstrel shows that are on the air? That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.